What's everyone saying? How's everyone doing? Everyone good? Everyone feeling blessed? Yes. There we go. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. What's going on, everyone? Back again, the lowdown in lockdown here at MOBO on Instagram Live, where we talk to your favorite people. I had to shut my window because you're going to hear everyone that's playing outside in the sun today. I did go and get my exercise in as well. How's everyone doing? I'm seeing everyone come in right now. Honey, I see you. Raphael Blake, I see you. Friday evening, what's happening? Robert Bruce here. I haven't even introduced myself again. Back again for the lowdown in lockdown with MOBO, where we talk to your favourite people, see how they're coping in the lockdown, also get a little bit about their background, their journey to where they've got to today. And today we've got a special one, man. Very, very excited. It's only week 2 and we're already moving like this. Last week was amazing as well. Nadia Rose passed through, Ivorian Doll, and all of our Doll fans were here as well. That was really good insight because 2 artists, different stages of their career, but they still had lots of good things to say. But today, we're keeping it fresh again. You guys thought we were going to be bringing you artists every week. No, I told you, whoever you want, we're getting on the show. And one of these people, I personally wanted on the show because I feel like her insight is going to be so amazing. Her career is amazing. What she's done in the culture is crazy. Angela Yee from The Breakfast Club. She will be here, Lip Service podcast as well. And the second guest, who is definitely a big name in the UK. Everyone's either always got something to say about her or has got something to say about what she's had to say. And her name is Zizi Mills. So really excited to get into that as well. Angela, you should be up first. But what is going on, everyone? How has your week been? How's your lockdown been this week since I last spoke to you guys last week? Obviously, things are changing. Boris is coming out, making different changes to the economy and all of that sort of stuff. Today, everyone's going mad at the congestion charge thing. That congestion charge has gone back up. Well, it's come back, first of all, most. It's gone up, all the way up as well. It's gone up by like, is it £4.50 or £3.50? Maybe £3.50. But they've extended it. So it doesn't finish at 6 no more, finishes at 10, 7 days a week. And that's what people are just going a bit crazy about. Let me see who's in right now. Raphael, I see you already. Colin, yeah. Real Versatile, yeah. Kanye's in. Angela Yee, I see you. MKL Marcel. Yes. And remember, guys, you guys can ask questions at any time. This is all about you guys asking questions as well. You know me, I'm a radio presenter. I can talk for days, but I really want to get your questions off and ask the questions on the question feature. You can comment, but I might not see them. All right, let me go and find Angela. Let me see. Let's go live. We ready. I think the request has been sent.
Hey.
Hello.
What's up?
What's going on?
It's like a little weird lighting. Let me look over here.
No way. I'm trying to make sure that I'm fully in shot as well. Angela Yee.
What's up?
Nothing much. Well, in fact, let me even give you your proper introduction like you deserve, right? Businesswoman, broadcaster, entrepreneur, a big figurehead in our culture, a Gracie Award winner as well. Everyone, put your claps down. Angela Yee in the live. Send me your claps.
Hi, thank you. That was amazing.
How are you doing? Nothing much. We're just here coping. How you coping?
A little bit. I'm good. How about you? It's Friday. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Friday. What's Friday like for you in general?
It varies every single week, but we've been having a lot going on. I think sometimes being at home makes you busier than not, you know?
Yeah,
so
100%.
Today, first of all, thanks for having me. I was excited about this. So thanks for that. And then after this, I have a meeting at 3 o'clock online and then one at 5 o'clock online also.
Wow. Do you find like there's more communications now that you're at home?
Yeah, I think also people assume that like you don't really have much to do. So they be thinking like you just at home doing nothing. So like, oh, you could do this. And you're like, dude, I've been doing stuff, you know, all day. So when this first started, I feel like it was kind of slow because people didn't know how long it would last.
Yeah.
But then, you know, then I think people started being like, okay, let's do this. You know, there's no graduations. Let's do this piece. Let's do that. Let's do this for the kids. So you end up doing a lot of things you know, just to try to be helpful to people during this time. But then you also have to balance it out, I feel like. What about you?
100%. Yeah, so it's pretty much the same. I feel like I'm busier in lockdown in a different sort of way, if that makes sense. So like my days are full of replying to people or signing stuff off or stuff like that. And then I've got radio in the evening as well. Are you still on air at this time?
Yes, we're still on air. I have my whole setup, you know, behind me over there. So everything is, and it's weird because it's like I have it all in my dining room, but I think like I don't want to put it upstairs because sometimes I like to go like make a smoothie or something in between stuff. So I was like, I'll just stay down by the kitchen.
Okay, all right, that's cool. So you're not going to the studio? I still go into the studio 5 days a week. Yeah, we still.
How bad is it there?
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Yeah. No, it is quite bad. But a lot of people are not going to work. So what would normally take me maybe an hour and 10 minutes to go in, it takes 25 minutes to 30 in and out sort of thing. So yeah, it's a bit crazy. It's a little bit crazy. What time is it over your side?
Oh, it's 1 o'clock here. How's your family?
Family's good as well. My mum's a home carer, so she's still working and she cares for the elderly. So she's still out and about and stuff. So that's a bit tough, but she's got all the protective gear and all of that sort of stuff. So everyone's good. What about you?
Everybody's fine. I had a couple of family members, not my immediate, but like aunts and uncles and a cousin who was really sick. One of my aunts had double pneumonia and coronavirus, but she's feeling better now. So that's good.
All right. Yes, definitely a big global impact right now. We're going to talk about more of the impact in your city later on in the chat, but I just wanted to get a whole sort of your journey to where you are, your background, how you started off in the game. And I've just been like reading and stuff. You've done a lot for a long time.
Yeah, I have
been. A long time.
You know what's crazy? I was thinking about this, right? How when I was younger, I used to work with like different artists. So I worked for Wu-Tang and we were in Europe a lot and in the UK. And I was talking about how I went to Brighton. I just remember that because it's a beach.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to Brighton in the UK and being like, I got to come back here when it's nice. Because it was a little cold, you know, when we got there. And then also I remember being in Brixton.
You went Brixton as well. Okay, South London. You was in serious London then.
You know, but I didn't know that much. Like, I feel like when I was young, I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't have the opportunity, like, because we were on tour. So it was a Wu-Tang thing. So we're on tour. So it's like one day, maybe at the most two in different places, but then having to move around and not really like taking advantage of that.
Oh, okay. So you don't really, when it's work, you don't really get to see properly. You don't get to do the tourist side, I guess.
Right. So that kind of sucks when I look back at it. And I remember back then, that was before, that's where every place you went had a different type of currency.
Okay,
So they didn't have like the euro everywhere. It would be like you go here and you had to keep on changing money and stuff.
So wait, how far back are we going? Because this is out of college, you study English at college, then you start your professional career. What was the first internship?
My first internship? My first internship was at a label. It was called TVT Records, which is it stood for TV Tunes. So it was a label that actually did like all of the cartoon music that's on the cartoons and stuff like that. So that's how they made the most of their money. But they had signed some other artists like I think that's where at first who was signed? I think Irv Gotti had a deal there first before he took his artist somewhere else. I'm trying to remember who else was on TVT because they were kind of trying to start like their hip hop thing back then. Mike Geronimo was on there. I don't know if you know Mike Geronimo, but you know, so that was me early on doing an internship. I did a lot of internships when I was in college.
Oh, so whilst you was at college, you were doing internships as well?
You said what?
I said while you were still studying, you started your career basically.
Yeah, when I was in college. I think that's what you're supposed to do when you're in college, like do internships because I wasn't getting paid for any of them. But it did help me a lot when I graduated, like as far as getting a job and being able to have opportunities. When I graduated from college, like I had a lot of things on the table just because of the relationships I made.
And is that how it works as well in the American music industry? Basically who you know, who you've networked with and what you can do for each other sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's a lot of people that back then that I went to school with who I'm still friends with right now, who we do a lot of things together still. So I think the best thing that you could do in life when you want to work is to actually still later on in life do work and make money with your friends.
Okay. Yeah, no, that is a good idea. Secure the bag together, innit? Everyone get the bag together.
That's right.
So
and then
cool.
we get to go on vacation together and have a good time.
That's nice. And then Wu-Tang comes how far after you finish school?
Well, I actually interned there too when I was in college.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I did that internship, and then when I graduated, that's when I got hired to work for them. And that was like a really fun first job. It was dope. I enjoyed it just because they gave me a lot of freedom. And I think like that job, because I was assistant to the CEO, that was Riz's brother, Divine.
Mm-hmm.
And so just doing that, like he wasn't really in the office a lot. So I kind of had a lot of control over things. I was having meetings with like CEOs of record labels, and everybody kind of knew me because everybody from Wu-Tang was on different labels. So you had artists that were on Def Jam, and then you had Loud Records, and then you had MCA Records, and you had Elektra, and you had Priority Records. You had a whole bunch of different labels. So I was able to meet a lot of people
on that journey. And did you always know you wanted to go into music?
No, I actually always wanted to be a writer from when I was in like kindergarten.
No, so then what changed? What happened?
I think, you know, what always like in my head, I was going to graduate from college. Yes, go Wesleyan. I was going to graduate from college, and then I was going to be a photographer and a writer. That was like my little idea in my head until I realized I had to make money somehow.
Yeah.
And so I just had it kind of set up for me to even get into the line of work that I got into. I did these internships. I had opportunities, and sometimes opportunities are so good that you don't want to turn them down. And so you might say, this is what my plan is and what I want to do, but then something might happen that kind of takes you, you know, off the route that you intended, which is fine too.
Yeah. No, I get that. Sometimes when you're starting out, it could be daunting to sort of deviate from what you had in your head. Yeah. But the longer you're in, you see like an opportunity is a challenge and change, which is good as well.
It's a learning experience. Like, did you always know you wanted to do music?
I started off wanting to go into journalism, writing from school. That's what I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be a journalist. And I remember one time I was watching the news with my mum, and there was a reporter reporting on a war, and it just looked manic. So I told my mum, that's what I want to do, just to like scare her a little bit. But then like, the more I sort of looked into it, I was like, yeah, no, I like journalism. And then I've always had a passion for music, radio, and that sort of thing. And it sort of just went from there. I remember I got my first ever radio shout out, and then that's what made me think, oh, I want to do this for someone else one day, because I'll just buzz it.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's how I sort of packed up my journey. But not about me today. We're here to talk about you, Angela. You see, you're doing the thing where you're being the interviewer as well as the interviewee, because you're used to being on the other side.
No, we're just having a conversation.
I hear you. All right, fair enough. All right, so you do your work at Wu-Tang, all the internships. What I was reading was quite interesting. You went to go and work on a clothing line?
Yeah, so after like doing a couple of things, I was freelancing, and I went to go work for Eminem's clothing line. And so for Eminem, he was just launching Shady Limited. You know what's so funny? My parents dropped off some stuff here the other day, and I still have some of the clothes with the tags on it still.
No way.
I have some stuff right there in the corners they just brought over here. But I actually met Eminem when I was still in college, and he was doing these battles in New York. It was called Lyricist Lounge. Yeah. So what they would do, you know about Lyricist Lounge? Because they actually had like albums and stuff.
I think I heard him talking about it on the Mike Tyson podcast.
Oh, really? Okay, so
yeah, so it might have been that, but he spoke about his journey as well. So yeah.
Yes, so Lyricist Lounge used to be these things in New York, and they would have it at these venues. Like there was this place called Tramps. There was a bunch of different places, and it would be like these MC battles. And so, you know, I was the kind of kid, I would go to stuff like that. And I was going to all of like the battles to see the artists go at each other. It was just like 8 Mile, honestly, like the way they would get on stage and battle each other. So I remember Eminem would come and battle, and he would say the craziest stuff.
No,
you know, that's how you win a battle. You just go crazy. You dish yourself. So if they try to dish you, then it don't even affect you because I already said it about myself, all of that. So I saw him at Lyricist Lounge, and then I was working for Wu-Tang at the time, and they were putting on this thing called Park Hill Day in Staten Island in Park Hill. And so it was something they did every year. It was like a something for the community where they would all come and perform, and then it would be artists that they were friends with, like Boot Camp Click and Mobb Deep. And I had Eminem come, and they didn't even know him yet because he was still really young and new, and he performed, and he tore it down. And I remember them being like, yo, that kid is really, really dope. Like, that white kid is dope. I know Paul Rosenberg, who's Eminem's manager. And so Paul is the type of person, like, if you ever did anything for him, he will remember you forever. So he always was like, anything I needed, you know, just because early on I worked at a few different clothing lines, I would give them clothes. Like, Eminem wore stuff on the covers of magazines. This clothing line I worked at called Varsity. And so he just always was like, we're going to work, you know, together some way, someday. And so when they launched the clothing line, I was at the Dave Chappelle premiere for his show, The Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
And Jizza was actually on the first ever episode of The Chappelle Show, because I booked him like super early to be on that show. And so I was there, and Paul was sitting right, I don't remember if he was behind me or in front of me. And he was like, hey, we're starting a clothing line. We want you to come work there. And I said, okay. And then the next day, I'm working for Shady Limited.
Yeah. How old are you at this time, and what year are we in at this point?
I don't know. Whenever the Chappelle Show started, because I went through so much. Like, I had a job working for Wu-Tang. Then I went to go work at Virgin Records. That was like a terrible experience. Then I went to go work at a marketing company. Then I was freelancing. So I don't even know how, you know, whenever the Chappelle Show was the first year, that's when that was.
Why did you say terrible? Why was it a terrible experience?
Well, it was a new label called Chiba Sounds. And oh, that's right, I was on Eminem's album. I did the skit.
No way.
That's funny that people heard me on there. But I went to go work for this label, and what happened was I was working at Wu-Tang, and he was a good friend of mine. His name was Fred Jordan. I interned for him at MTV, and he was a guy that was like, he was the music manager. So people would submit videos to him, and he would pick like what videos to get played on MTV. So it was a big deal. Like, I remember being in college and going to Puffy's studio, Daddy's house, and Puffy played like Biggie Hypnotized, the video for us first. So that, and he got a lot of perks just because he was at MTV. So everybody wanted their video on MTV. So he would get all these tickets to concerts, and he would bring me to everything. And so he was like, Angela, I don't want you working at Wu-Tang. I want you working at for someplace like, you know, Virgin Records for D'Angelo. So I went to go work for D'Angelo. They were launching a label called Chiba Sounds. So I left Wu-Tang and went to Chiba Sounds. And, you know, I think people sometimes have an idea in their head of what something's going to be like. When I worked for Wu-Tang, people thought it was going to be really hood. Like, oh, she's going to be there. They're smoking weed all day. But they actually were amazing, just like big brothers to me. They were very protective over me. I feel like I had a lot of freedom. I met a lot of people. It was a great experience. And in retrospect, like, I would have stayed if I would have known then what I know now. But the idea was, you're going to go work in R&B for D'Angelo, and it's going to be really nice. And his management and the people that ran his label were just like awful people. It was terrible.
Goodness.
So
okay. Was that your first proper sting in the industry? Was that your first like sting in the industry?
Yeah, I would say that was like the first mistake that I made. And sometimes, you know, going someplace that is paying you more money isn't the best move. I made more money, and it wasn't a good move for me because it was a brand new label, which could have been nice. They told me I was going to be the general manager, which sounds like a big position. Yeah. But it wasn't shit to manage. I was just like, D'Angelo was in a space at that time where he rented out the studio, Electric Lady Studio, and they had hired all these musicians and rented out all this equipment, and he wasn't even showing up to his studio sessions. And so he wasn't telling nobody like what was going on with his album. He wouldn't let his manager come hear it. He just didn't respect them at all. And so it's not really on D'Angelo. It was more on them. And then I didn't like the way that they would talk about him. Like, I always came from the management side. So to come from the label side and hear them talk about D'Angelo, they used to be like, just spend his money. We're going to just take his budget. I'm going to get this apartment, $4,000 a month. It's cool. We're just going to take it out his budget. And I wasn't used to that. I was used to people being like, you know, let's take care of the artist, because that's how it used to be. So I went there to them, and they were just like raping him financially.
Yeah, I hear you. That's definitely a weird switch to come over from being artist side to label side, because the demands are different, I guess.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was, and then truthfully, like, then one of the guys that was the head of the label definitely asked me to have sex with him. And that's what really made it like a bad experience. So I quit right after that. And it was a long story, but I
Yeah,
was
no, we
like,
need to talk about all of this as
well, I
well,
didn't really quit.
especially.
I got fired. Huh?
Oh, they fired you in the end.
Yeah. So he called me in his office, and he was like, I think you should have sex with me. Like, it was a meeting. And I was like, I would absolutely never in a million years. And then the next day I got fired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've been shocked. You know, you hear about these things, but I've never heard it from someone, because people don't really talk about it.
You know what I did after that?
What did you do?
So, man, okay. So it got really bad. I'll just tell it now because it's so long ago. But
Yeah.
so what I did was I still had access to a lot of things, and they had a car service that they would use, and you just needed to have like a code. I guess the statute of limitations is probably up. So anyway, I gave the code to some of the guys from Wu-Tang, and they was ordering cars to go to like the Poconos, which is, you know, a couple hours away. They was just using it up. And so
Yeah.
yeah, Lisa,
No.
look, she said you needed to take legal action. And it's crazy because I didn't really know anything about that. You got to think I was young. And this was like
That's what I'm saying.
only my second job in the industry, and I never dealt with anything like that. And this was a while ago. People weren't really like suing for that at that time. It was, you know what people always used to tell me, like, this is just part of the business. When you're younger, it's like, this is what it is. Like, you're just going to have to deal with that. And people are always going to try you. And so either you know, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't have money for a lawyer. It just get another job. And that's what I did. And I kept it pushing.
It's crazy now, because we've got like more social media and stuff. It's almost not, I wouldn't say it's easy to talk about, but there's an outlet that you could talk about and be supported. Whereas you, fresh into the industry, you're trying to progress your career and go forward. No, that's very tough. That's very tough.
And then I left, and I remember I called my best friend, and I told her, and she had an artist that she was working with, and her artist had just signed a demo deal there. And so it was all tied in together. So I was like, what should I do? And she was like, let's just, because we have this deal here, so let's just try to get through this. And I was like, damn, man. But then I got fired anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's move in the journey along your career. I spoke about the clothing line because I believe that's where you sort of entered radio in a weird sense. Was that the connect? Was that the link? How did you start in radio, first of all?
So yes, that is the link with Eminem and Paul Rosenberg. So he launched a clothing line, and clothing is like, the fashion industry was just so different than everything else. I had actually consulted for 2 different clothing lines at that point, Varsity and this clothing line called Shot Brothers. They used to make like the leather jackets and motorcycle jackets and stuff. And so I was doing that. And then I actually was freelancing at first for Eminem's clothing line for Shady Limited. And then they brought me in-house. They were like, oh, we want to hire you full-time. So I ended up working there full-time. But there was just a lot of issues between Eminem's side of things and the company that was actually distributing the clothing line. Like, they wanted Eminem's face on everything. They wanted it to be like Eminem Presents. And he wanted it to be more subtle. Like, he wanted the little small logo. He wanted it to be like, and management, they wanted it to basically be a clothing line that could exist even if it wasn't Eminem.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's why I feel like a lot of times he does stuff that's like Shade 45 instead of Eminem Radio, because you want things to exist and not be so tied to who you are as a person. And so I ended up working at the clothing line. They had all kinds of issues with each other because Eminem just isn't like the person that's going to be available all the time doing photo shoots, you know. So it just caused a conflict, and they started putting the clothes in places like these little discount places, and you know, everybody was mad about that. So they just discontinued that situation. So I was unemployed. Like, I got laid off. I was
also unemployed at this point.
Yeah, so I got laid off, and then, you know, I just was like, I've always worked. Let me just take a little bit of time to figure out what's next. And that's when I saw they were hiring at Sirius Satellite Radio. So I called up Paul, and I think part of it was for Paul, he knew that I had a really good work ethic. He knew me, he was comfortable with that. And so he was like, I told him, I said, they're hiring in the marketing position at Sirius. So can I, get an interview? Because I never would ask somebody to give me a job.
Okay.
I would ask, can you get me an interview? And then I'll take it from there. So he got me, actually, he said, they're looking for somebody on the morning show with Cypher Sounds. And if you want to audition for that, you can. And so I was like, all right, I never did it before, but I'll audition. And I auditioned and I ended up getting the job.
Wow. So did you get this job as well as the marketing job, or
no?
You just ended up going straight to the radio?
And it was funny because I was very honest. When I did the interview, I had to go meet with the head of programming. And he was like, so tell me about your experience in radio. I was like, I don't have none. And he was like, okay. And then they were like, all right, well, we'll just, try it out, I guess. He didn't really have a choice. And so, and what Paul told me was, they're going to audition you. You might get the job. You might not. It's not really on me. But I auditioned. I had to come in every day. I was there for like a month, not getting paid. And then I ended up getting hired.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the start of everything. Talk to me about the structure of American radio. So like, in terms of where you're at now with the radio to that job, what's the structure and steps? How far is it off, if that makes sense?
I'll tell you this, starting at Sirius is really different than doing what I do now on iHeart, because there's a lot less rules when it comes to satellite radio. Like, we didn't have commercials. We didn't have, we didn't have like things that you can't say. Everything we did was live when I was on Sirius. So we would do the interviews live. People would call in live. It was so uncensored.
No way. And is that in people's cars and everything? Or is it online?
That was, and it was mostly because it's a paid subscription service. So you got to think it's like an older audience.
Okay.
And what's up, Nav Josh? Thank you. It was an older audience. And then it was a lot of truck drivers, because at first a lot of truck drivers had Sirius, because it was like listening to those stations from state to state to state to state. And so it was a lot of those people, a lot of men too.
Okay.
That actually had it. So it was just a different audience for me. And it was just me trying to learn how to do radio. And I was also, it was a very male oriented station, because it was heavy on the hip hop, heavy male listenership. All the shows were like, I don't think they really had a female show like on there with a DJ and all that.
Wow. And what about the facilities at that level in comparison to where you're at now? What's that journey?
I mean, Sirius XM is pretty nice. They, what it is they have a lot more studios, because they have a lot more shows all in one space. Like iHeart is just spread out all over. Like every city, there's iHeart studios. With Sirius, they have their studios in New York and DC, and but not all over. iHeart is everywhere, so I could do my show from anywhere.
Oh, when you're on iHeart, you could do it from anywhere.
Yeah, like I could be like, all right, I'm going to Houston. I do my show in Houston. I do my show in Detroit. I do my show in Miami. At Sirius, it's not like that.
Okay, I'm with you.
You know what else too? I would say that side money wasn't so good at Sirius. Like right now, we get a lot of good money, like to host things. I feel like Sirius was so spread out, and the audience was so different that I didn't really get a lot of hostings at that time.
Yeah, it's hard to get booked off the back of that show. But was that Monday to Friday?
Yeah, Monday through Friday. And then I had a nighttime show, Lip Service.
Well. Oh, yeah, this is the start of Lip Service. Yeah, we're going to get to it. Start of Lip Service. Before we get there, how do you be a good co-host?
You said, how do you be a good co-host?
Yeah. What's your tips for being a good co-host?
I think you have to hold up to your responsibilities. You have to make sure that you're respectful of being on time, because it's not fair to the other person if you're just, late and it's on them. And then you have to do your own job. I think it's important I do all my own research. Like I do a lot of my own stuff, because I want to make sure that, and obviously everything's not perfect ever. Nobody's perfect. Yeah. But I try to be cognizant of like, okay, we have a guest coming. Let me watch this show. Let me read this book. Let me listen to this music. So at least I have some type of connection there, or things to talk about. Respect. It's respect for somebody who's coming in. And I think it's not cool when people rely on their co-host to like do the work, and then they're not really, doing the work. I think to be respectful to each other, that's important too. you know, and you know, things like that. Like just making sure that even if whatever happens on the air, at least you sound respectful on the air. Because there's a lot of people in radio who behind the scenes don't really get along like that on a lot of shows. But you shouldn't be able to hear that on the air.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good advice. That's very sound advice. And you said that was the start of lip service. So
Yeah,
the midnight. So that was the onset. How did that happen? Talk to me about that journey.
Oh, and look, shout out to my guy Tony Forte in the comments. He's one of my partners in my press juice business, and he's my partner for my book club and my running club here in Brooklyn. So
we're gonna talk about all of it. We're gonna get to.
Sorry, I just saw him leave a comment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
I was saying start of lip service.
Oh,
so what was lip service back then? So
lip service started off as I had a segment when I was on the morning show with Cypher Sounds, and it was called Slut It Out. Yeah. And I actually did a mixtape and everything. Is hilarious. So it started off with us having these conversations once a week where we would discuss, it was all women talking. So we would just be talking about things that had to do with relationships, with sex, just to show you what women discuss when y'all not around. And I thought it would be helpful for guys to learn how to do things. Like a lot of guys learn how to perform oral sex from listening to lip service. Okay. So they learn how to do a lot of things. And I remember like just doing topics that were so funny. I remember Floyd Mayweather used to call in. Wale called in one day because we were talking about dominatrixes and we had one up there. So it was just kind of an educational thing to teach you about things that maybe you'll never do, but you can learn about it from people who do it. And also as a judgment-free zone where you can talk about things where people aren't going to say, oh my God, you're disgusting, you're nasty. Just be able to discuss whatever you want to discuss without people passing judgment. Because I think there's not a lot of spaces for women to do that. And it was also back in that time, King Magazine was out and they had the XXL eye candy. Thank you. You like the lip service podcast today? So we had somebody,
Ebenezer, the UK Ebenezer.
Yeah, he's on lip service today. It just dropped.
He's on today. No way. Okay, I'm gonna check that. I interviewed him a few weeks ago. He came to the UK.
Yeah, we just had him. But so anyway, I did that little segment and it got so popular they offered me my own nighttime show. And then I did lip service. It was me and Leah Rose, and she was the music editor for XXL Magazine at the time. So I remember the first people we had on, like Remy Ma came, and she had her little puppy with her. The dog peed all over the carpet. Wow.
And this was at the same station?
Yeah, this was at Shade 45 still. So, and like lip service was so popular. I remember people would come on that show and people would fly in just because they wanted to do lip service. I remember Daz and Corrupt came on the Dog Pound and they told me, they were like, we'd be sitting in the car eating tacos, listening to lip service, and they came in a day early just to come do lip service. Things like that used to mean a lot to me. Nicki Minaj was on there really early on. I actually have a whole bunch of mini DV tapes from lip service that I'm probably going to put out, like some of those clips, but some of them are absolutely hilarious.
No way. Yeah, you've got to release them. You've got to release them. So then,
I just had them transferred to digital, so I have like hours and hours and hours of footage.
And how long did you spend at that station then? And was this the only station before Breakfast Club?
Yes, I was there for 6 years.
6 years. So that takes you up till 2010. So from like 2004 to 2010.
Yeah, I was there.
Was it hard to leave? Was it hard to move?
Hell no, I was ready. I was like, let me out. I think sometimes, and this is true for any career that you're in, if you feel like you've hit a plateau where you're like, okay, they're not trying to really do more for me. I've kind of done everything I could do here. Then it's time for me to move into the next phase. And I just was having like a lot of issues with management, and they were very like, sometimes because that was my first job in radio, I'm appreciative for the platform, but I think sometimes people feel like I made you. And so they want to keep you like in this position and not let you grow. And I was feeling like that. So I said, instead of me being annoyed, I'm gonna come in here. What really pushed me over the edge was, I remember I was upset about something. I wanted to go to Super Bowl weekend, and I had Belvedere Vodka pay for like everything for me to broadcast them out there. And I'm like, there's such a synergy between football players. They love hip hop, and everybody wanted to do interviews. So I set up all these interviews, and then they shut it down. They were like, oh, the guy just didn't like me anymore. And there's a whole story behind why. Wow. He didn't like me because he told me he was going to give me a raise, and we had a meeting about it. And when it wasn't happening, months later, like I kept checking in. He was like checking with me. I kept checking in, and it wasn't happening. So I went above his head and set up a meeting with his boss, and I got my raise that same day. And I think he got in trouble because I had all these emails where he was telling me, "Oh, I'm waiting to hear back," and he never even submitted.
And he never said, "Oh, I see."
So he just kind of had it in for me after that. And so everything I tried to set up, he would just like, destroy it. So he put this 7-second delay on me just in case he thought I was going to talk crazy. And I'm like, I've never done anything that I'm not supposed to do on the air. I'm a very professional person at the end of the day. How dare you try to delay me? So I made a huge deal out of it. They took the 7-second delay off, but I was like, I got to leave here.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, me neither. So they did it to me.
All right. So we get up to 2010, yeah? And from my understanding, when you joined Breakfast Club, it's not the Breakfast Club that we know today. Mm-hmm. What was those early stages of Breakfast Club like? How did you join? And where was it? And how did you start to come up?
Well, it was this guy, G-Spin, and he was the one. He really wanted me to come to the station before we started the Breakfast Club. He wanted me to do like weekends and fill in. He wanted to kind of test it out. Sirius shut it down. Everybody else was working at Sirius and at other stations, and they were like, no, you can't. So I was like, all right, they're doing too much. So I told him, I said, look, if there's an opportunity for me to do something bigger, I'll be interested, but I can't leave my job for a part-time situation.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, they called me, and the day that they called me, I was also being offered a job in Philly to do mornings there. And so I had to turn that job down and hope that this came through, because in radio, you know how it is. Until you have a contract and that contract is signed, they could tell you anything. It just might not happen. Mm-hmm. So I was like, Lord, please let this work out, because I'm turning down another opportunity. And so I did end up getting that offer from New York, from Power 105.
And then that was how you branched over. And what about ratings and stuff? How popular was Wait, so did you join with Breakfast Club?
Yes, it was all three of us together. G-Spin called all of us and put us together. Envy was already at the station.
Yeah.
Shani was, he wasn't working at the time. And
yeah, I think he was a liability or something at that time.
Yeah, he didn't have a job. So he was like really eager to start.
Mm-hmm. Did you know each other before?
I was the last one to sign my contract, like always.
Pardon?
I said I was the last one to sign my contract. And then I said, like, I'm always the last one.
And did you all know each other before?
Yes.
You did know each other. Okay, cool. So you start off, what happens in the first couple of years?
So the first couple of years was not that great ratings-wise. I think, we were on a station that was the underdog station. Because you got to think Hot 97 was the premier station in New York. So people were used to listening to Hot 97. People didn't even know we were on the air at first. You have to do like a whole campaign. It takes a long time to break people from the habit of what they're used to, right? Yeah. Of going to a certain station, whether or not they like it. And so it just was a process. Like there was a point where it didn't look like it was going to work out. And I just remember being like, damn it. Because at Sirius, they told me, they were like, if you leave, the show's not going to last. Shows in regular radio don't last like that, and blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I just can't fail, man, because I just left here thinking I was about to be popping. And so fortunately, we had a couple of people that really championed us, and we had a pretty good online presence, like going viral from different things. So that helped us a lot, and we were able to come back from that. And then we had that Ray J moment that was a big deal, and that really kind of helped us.
Was that the first big moment? Yeah,
that was our first big moment.
Okay, cool. And what was the reaction and response to that? For people that haven't seen it, in fact, for people that haven't seen it, tell us a little bit of what happened.
Yeah, Ray J was in Vegas, and I guess he was probably like drunk and high, and his boy called me and was like, Ray J heard you talking about him on the radio. Somebody told me he had gotten into a fight with Fabulous. And so I was like, yeah, tell him to call in. So Ray J called in, and he just went off. Like he was talking about all kind of stuff. And I got it. And people use that like in music and everything.
Really?
Yeah, indoor pool, outdoor pool, and he was just going in on Fab. And so people were like, what is going on? And that kind of was our biggest moment, and that I think helped bring people to us, and then people stayed.
Okay, then cool. And then since then, has like the content just been going up and up and up? Because for us here, like Breakfast Club is the place you go when you want to hear something out of an interview, if that makes sense. Like you never know what's gonna happen, who's gonna say what. Did that really help to set that sort of culture?
Yeah, it did. Like, I think, you know, the thing about it is that a lot of people, artists, if they have something coming out, or actor or whoever, or author, then they do their press runs. And I know they'll even tell you, we answer the same questions over and over and over and over and over again. So I think the trick is to just kind of ask them about different things. And you always want to make sure you respect that an artist has something that they're trying to promote. So we get to that, but then make it more conversational.
Okay, I hear you. That's good advice. What advice do you have for like young broadcasters, in fact, that are starting out in radio, want to know how to have good interview techniques and all of that?
I think the best thing to do is research. I always feel like that, so that you're not reading always notes off paper or off your laptop or your phone. Just basically make sure you familiarize yourself, so that even if you have questions written down that you want to ask, you can stray off topic if necessary. So if they ask you something, then you can take it somewhere else. And so it's not so scripted.
Yeah.
And don't just do interviews and think about what are you about to ask next. Like, be in the moment and pay attention to what's being said at that moment, so that you know you can respond to them. Because sometimes I notice people just have like questions that they want to ask, and so they're not really listening. They're asking you a question and then they're like, next question, next question. You should let them answer the question and then build off of that, and you'll get to what you want to get to.
And vital for that. So have you had any hard situations then? Like, have you had any tough interviews at Breakfast Club?
I mean, I think the toughest interviews are when people don't talk. Like, that's really hard. If you ever have to interview somebody and they're giving you like one-word answers, or they have an attitude, or you're just not prepared and you have wrong information. That's why I don't just rely all the time on interns. Like, sometimes interns will give you wrong information, and people will just copy something off a Wikipedia page. So it's important to, that's why I always stress it, do your own research. Just don't rely on somebody putting a sheet of paper in front of you. And then I can't tell you how many times people will read stuff and be completely wrong. And so that's the toughest thing, man, when you get stuff wrong or you insult somebody, or that's always hard.
Yeah, no, 100%. I hear that, man. Definitely hear that. So in terms of Breakfast Club is growing now, do you have any moments that you like look back on and are super proud about? What are your favorite moments from the past? It's coming up to 10 years. So what are your favorite moments? What have they been?
I mean, I love like when we do interviews with people early on, and then we can look back and be like, hey, we had Kendrick Lamar on super early, or we had on, I'm trying to think, Tiffany Haddish, you know, right after Girls Trip, and just certain interviews that were super early. I love when we break really great positive stories. I'm a very like, and I know people sometimes hate this, but I like positive things. Like, I never really am rude to people, you know. So I know sometimes people think that's like fun and funny, and they'll be like, oh my God, you're so boring, but I don't really care, because it is what it is. I understand what it's like to have people say nasty things to you, about you, and I never want to make somebody feel like that. And so I respect anybody that is brave enough to put their art out there for other people to critique. And so while sometimes certain things might not be my cup of tea, like there's stuff that people like that maybe I don't necessarily like, and there's stuff that I love that people don't necessarily like also.
So then on the flip side of that, then how do you deal with people not being nice the other way? So how do you deal with like a Birdman situation when someone just comes in with a different energy?
I mean, there's nothing you could really do about it. I've never felt like anybody was in danger. So I think as long as you're not physically in danger, it's fine. But there's nothing you can do. Like, at the end of the day, I've learned that after doing interviews for over 16 years, you can't control everything. And if you think you can, there's always going to be things that just don't happen the way you want them to happen. There's always going to be things that you're like, fuck that person.
Yeah.
It's impossible to have a career that long and not have those moments.
I hear you. A lot of people are commenting and stuff. Guys, make sure you ask your questions on the question app. We're going to do the last 10 minutes, just straight questions from you guys. A lot of people have been getting onto me before I had this conversation. So I sort of put it out on my Instagram. Anyone got a question? So I wanted to ask you a few of those as well. And the Shade Borough, Shade Borough, I think it's like the Shade Room. We have an Instagram page here called the Shade Borough anyway. They do a lot of like news and gossipy sort of stuff. And they actually wanted to ask some questions. They said they want the real tea with you and Gucci. And are you guys cool? Have you forgiven him? What's the situation there?
I mean, I don't think I'll ever, like, we never were friends to begin with, so it's not a big deal. I think, you know, people do things when they have like music coming out, and he has a history of doing that. I definitely never have done that. It's not much. I think it's like an immature thing to do and say and whatever, but there's no tea. Like, I haven't spoken to him since. He just, I guess, was mad that he thought he was banned from the Breakfast Club, even though he wasn't. And he just, I don't know. I also think that like people get so much more attention when they do like negative things. And so people enjoy that attention sometimes. And that's just not what I try to like make my career off of.
For people that are not in the US, because I actually haven't heard the Breakfast Club show. All of my knowledge of the Breakfast Club is through your online content. So what is the actual show like outside of the interviews?
So the way the show, oh, you mean outside of, okay, so every morning, I'm the first one there.
Yeah.
And
first one there, last one to sign the contract.
Always last for that. But I'm always the first one there, and I'm doing my prep. So the first thing we do in the morning is front page news, right? Where we talk about whatever's happening in the world. You know, we have elections coming up. And so we might talk about like the craziest thing Donald Trump did. Right now, we're talking a lot about coronavirus. We're giving people updates. And so, you know, we're talking about things like Ahmaud Arbery, things that are happening in the news that affects our community. And so that's the first thing that we go through. And then after that, we take calls, and it's called Get It Off Your Chest. So people call in and they tell us why you mad, tell us why you blessed. And so they get to call in and just kind of set the tone, weigh in, so we know how they're responding to everything we're talking about. Then I have Rumor Report, and I do Rumor Report 3 times in the morning, every hour. So at the end of the hour, every hour, I do that 3 times. And then I have Ask Yee on Thursdays and Fridays. So I do 2 segments of that. And then we have another segment of Front Page News also every single day. So, and then Charlamagne has Donkey of the Day every day, and Envy has a mix.
Has a mix in there as well. How much music do you get in there? Is it a lot of music too? Or maybe
you know, it's the way that it has worked is in the beginning, we played a lot more music. And so as people got adjusted to the show and wanting to hear us talk, you know, we cut some songs out and then we talk more. But it's a balance. A lot of commercials too. Yeah. Commercials are good. That means you're making money, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. There's literally like so many moments that we probably could pick out from the past 10 years. But I really want to get into questions from everyone in the comments as well. But before we get there, a lot of people are asking about 6ix9ine, where you guys stand on 6ix9ine. You guys obviously had the 2 big interviews with him as well. How's everyone with 6ix9ine and that whole thing sort of thing?
So I think, well, we've had some pretty major interviews with 6ix9ine. You know, I did think, and I had told this to TMZ, I definitely thought that he still would be very popular when he got out of jail. I thought people were really going to be interested in what his music sounded like. Obviously, he did his first live. It broke the net. For people, it is like a novelty thing, you know, to go to jail and then to snitch and then come home and still be able to have a career. And so I feel like I didn't know if he was going to be cocky still. I didn't know what he was planning to do. I kind of feel like maybe he had to play into the whole thing of being a snitch, because what else can you, you know? So I feel like he just really like owned it, because what else can you do strategically? Like you have to own it and then try to explain it. Some people will agree with you, some people won't. But I also feel like kids don't really care about snitches. Like, I don't feel like younger kids care if you snitched, care if you didn't snitch. I don't think they care about like the code of what you're supposed to do. I think people like drama, like I said. And so everybody was interested to see what was going to happen.
I see. Would you have him back?
I don't know. I guess so. I mean, if everybody was down with it, I don't, you know, to me, it's like, I'm not a street person.
Yeah.
So my sensitivities to it, I do feel like he put himself in that position. But I also feel like everybody knew he wasn't for real a street person. So if anybody thought that it was going to go down, he knew about it and he wasn't going to tell, they'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, if you take somebody that you know didn't grow up like that and put them in a situation where they could go to jail forever, are they going to tell, or are they going to all of a sudden be like, you know what I'm saying? He
Yeah,
didn't grow up with that. So I don't know what they would have expected him to do in that situation. I feel like if you are involved in the streets and you have an artist, you should probably not want them to know what's going on the street side of things, and kind of that, because they will tell if that's not the type of person that they are.
Okay, with you. I want to get into the questions from everyone in the comments as well. Oh, before we get there though, when I say UK music, what comes to mind?
Grime and drill.
Yeah. Who comes to mind then?
Oddly enough, when I was younger, there was an artist, Kano.
Yeah.
That was really big. I guess he was really young back then. And then, of course, I know Stormzy and Wiley, because obviously I know about it. Sucks, like I said, but I do know about the beef.
Yeah. No way.
But, yeah, I do know about that.
We've just had Young T and Bugsy enter the Hot 100. Have you heard their song? Don't Rush. Everyone's doing the challenge.
No, but I'll look it up. You know, I love researching music.
Yeah. Look up Young T and Bugsy, Don't Rush. He just entered the Hot 100 Billboard.
And I love to see women doing like their UK drill music.
Yeah.
You know, I saw one woman, I think her name is Shabo. Is that her name?
Shabo, yeah. She's very popular at the minute. A lot of people are excited about her.
I feel bad that I don't know as much as I should know.
Don't worry, I'll put you on.
You know, but I know actually me and Wiley have been following each other for a really long time on Twitter, from like even before Instagram. So I always was familiar with his music. Okay.
What do you like about Kano?
I just remember being in London and he was a really big deal. Like and I know he's still around. And I think that's dope. Like artists like Kano and Wiley that have been doing this for over a decade to still be relevant. That's a huge deal. Because I know even here in the US, for you to have a career that spans over 10 years is like, damn, you did it.
Yeah. No, definitely UK legends, man. Let's get into these questions before you go. We've got to talk about the juice bar as well. Ooh. Let's see. Let's see. What's your favorite Breakfast Club interview?
My favorite?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hard. Let me see. My favorite, Dave Chappelle came on. That was dope to me.
Yeah. When was that?
That was like right before he did his shows in New York. So I'm gonna say that must have been like 2 years ago.
Okay.
I love comedians. Like I love comedy. So I would say like I always love when we have comedians on. Donnell Rawlings, he's really funny. That's my guy. And I love when he comes on the show too. And he actually set up that Dave Chappelle interview for us.
Okay, awesome. Let me get another one. I think this is one that a lot of people would like to know the answer to. If I can find it. Yeah, you probably know.
That's always a setup. When you do that, I already know. Is the 10-year mark the end of the Breakfast Club? Probably not. I think Envy's already signed his contract. You know, Charlamagne's very vocal about him still having to sign his contract. Mine is always last.
Yeah.
Just like I like it. So, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm sure iHeart does not want us to go anywhere because the show is so successful. We're on in over 100 markets. You know, we just got on in Toronto, which is a big deal for us also. So I think, you know, it's been working. So I don't think they would want it to be.
Yeah. Someone in the comments said, what's next for you?
So of course, you know, lip service is a big deal to me. Y'all got to bring me out there. You know, Aloni?
Yeah.
That's my girl. She's been on lip service. I love her.
Nice.
And so I'm gonna come out there and do something with her because I like her platform. I always look at her Ask Aloni questions too. But lip service is a big deal to me. That's my baby. So I'm trying to do some good things. Like during this pandemic, we've been putting out 2 episodes a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. And yes, Christina, a book. I've been working on that. And I have other things that I'm working on. I've always wanted to do a project with my best friend in the world. So she and I are working on something right now that I'm excited about.
Okay, awesome. I was watching the episode with Dream today.
You did?
Yeah, I was watching it with Dream. I was like, wow, you guys really just talk about anything. But it's so good to see. I think British people are quite conservative. That's why we love American media.
Listen, that's so funny. I was telling Ebenezer, I feel like British people are a lot more sexually open.
You think so?
Than American people, yes. I remember coming there and seeing naked people on TV and like people being so much more free with their. I'm like, you can't see that here. People are more comfortable, I feel like, with their bodies.
You reckon so? I've never ever heard someone say that about British people before.
Y'all just undercover more about it, but.
Yeah, exactly. More covert.
But y'all be a little wilder.
Yeah, no, you've got to bring lip service to the UK then. We're looking forward to that big time. Big time. And the juice bar, how's the juice bar business?
The juice bar is doing amazing right now. So we actually cut back on the hours just for safety purposes. We used to open at 7 a.m., close at 9 p.m. So we start opening like around 10 in the morning and closing at 7. And we've been actually making even more money than we did. I think a lot more people are concerned about their health right now. So they're trying to make sure they do whatever they can to be healthier. And it's been doing really, really well. So I'm happy about that.
Okay, awesome. Honestly, we could talk for hours and hours on end, but I know we're tight for time. This is very much like a very nice prelude to the book. We need the book.
I got a million stories, and it's funny because when I was writing down like all the stories I want to make sure are in there, I was like, damn, I done lived a pretty amazing life.
Yeah.
Like stuff that I forgot about that happened when I was younger. And I was like, damn, people are going to really flip out because I have a lot of relationships with people and experiences from, you know, when we were younger that people probably have no idea about and stories that I've never told before. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Okay, then cool. We're going to be queuing up at the stores for that 100%. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Well,
before
thank
you
you.
go,
I appreciate it.
Quickly before you go, one piece of advice that you can leave us with. It can be life, it can be career, it could be surviving in this time, starting your own business. What's the first thing in your head?
I would say don't be a shitty person. Sometimes people are very nasty and rude, and then they try to put up this front like in front of the cameras or to people like they're not like that. But you want to think about your legacy and what are people going to say about you behind your back, and you want to make sure that you respect people so that people respect you. I think it's so important when you're not in the room. What do people think about you? What do they say about you? How do you make people feel? That's more important than anything. So don't be so concerned with being successful that you treat people like shit.
Okay, awesome. Everyone, please drop your clap emojis in the comments for me. It's been Angela Yee. Just a big cultural figurehead, man. You're doing such good stuff. Like, your impact is global, and that's amazing to say, you know.
Well, thank you. I was very happy that you even asked me to be part of this. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Nah, no problem at all. And I'm going to put you onto some more UK music, yeah?
Yeah, please listen. Tell me what to listen to, so
Yeah.
I know what's going. I know a little bit. You know, I'll go watch Top Boy or something.
Yeah. And Blue Story. Blue Story is another one that's just gone everywhere on Netflix. So
Okay.
check Blue Story by Rapman.
All right, I'm on it.
Yeah. All right, then. Awesome. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Oh, yeah, it's daytime for you. Have a good day.
You too.
Peace. Bye-bye. Angela Yee, everyone. Wow. Stories upon stories. I didn't even know she had all of that storage there. It was so sick, man. Remember, ZZ Mills is going to be on as well. I'm going to see if I can find it. ZZ, are you in?